from like early 2000s. Maroon 5 is still clocking checks on that song. I'm just gonna let Disney know right now. Stop playing with me. Give me that Avatar Way the Water 4K digital or Blu-ray physical copy. I need
Blu-ray,
that.
bro. Give me that. Give me that steelbook. What's going on?
I need that. None of this digital crap. We don't. Nah. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
I don't. I'm not. It's not even about preservation. It says that I want that steelbook
Facts. I'm just greedy.
Y'all are
so
some
I can watch the
nerds.
movie on Disney Plus
So y'all some nerds, he said.
anytime.
As we enter a gaming podcast, that's hilarious.
You guys are nerds. Anyways, going to full cell.
Hey, yo.
Yeah.
Someone check out audio for me.
Can you check it, so?
Yeah.
No. It says no. I'm like, okay. If I was a girl.
There we got a gif of Lilith.
I love that. I have my spells have a burning ability, burning effect. The dude is just like, dying from burning, and when he dies, you just hear, it's the guy who flops to the ground.
Shout outs to those voice actors.
It's like a bloodborne death. It's like a bloodborne. You're like, you try to jump. You're like, okay, I'm gonna make it. You died, man.
I can hear Walt and Macho. I'm trying to see if I can hear me really quickly.
You got it. Talk, dance, monkey, dance.
I think I kind of heard you grumble.
That's his voice actor.
Okay, we're good.
Sweet.
Nice. All right. Let me tweet this out. Elon Musk. Retweet. There we go. Meg Turney. And she's doing a cosplay of Ashley from Resident Evil 4, and she posted a tweet saying, "Felt cute, might hide in this dumpster later." I'm done.
Oh, I can't wait to play that game.
Yeah, man. Wait, you didn't play Resident Evil 4?
Shut up! You no, I know
didn't-
what you're doing.
You didn't?
I know what you're doing.
Damn. All right. Well.
Shut the hell up.
Damn, man, that's wild. How do you, the Resident Evil guy, have not played Resident Evil 4?
I'm gonna talk to you like Dutch. When he's going to that one mansion, he's like, "Come out here, you inbred trash."
Yeah, that's a good moment.
That's
Great fucking moment. Probably, I mean, that one alongside the well, look who it is. When I got something to finish for, and you're just looking at these three buffoons, and you hear American Venom in the background.
Yeah. One of my favorite Arthur lines is he was doing like some job with Bill, Uncle, and like someone else, and obviously Arthur doesn't want to do the job, and of course they convince him, they rope him into it anyway, and he's like talking to Uncle, and he's like, "Well, if you get shot or I get paid, I'm happy." And Uncle's like, "You're a sick man, Arthur Morgan. You're a sick
You're
man."
Oh man.
I need to go back to that
Also,
game. I started on PC
Same.
and it was just so sublime.
it's a great game.
It is.
Also on the bank heist in Valentine, I think it's called. Um,
Yeah.
which is crazy because you can tackle that bank. There's like two like endings for that bank heist. The one that I chose was like I let what's her name Karen be like this like drunk girl or whatever
Mhm.
to like distract the police outside and so like we end up getting like caught inside the bank like robbing it and there's like a whole bunch of police waiting for us outside. She goes out to like meet them and she's like, you guys have made a terrible mistake. And then the police, the guy who's like leading the charge or whatever, he's like, get out of there, miss. It's just like the way the way that he says it, it's just like the funniest like line delivery because his voice is like all shaky. Yeah, it's
Oh
good stuff.
man, what a damn! Yeah, I need to get back to that game. It's so good. So
Yeah.
many. What sucks is that it's such a time-consuming game at times. There's a lot of padding at times where it's not bad, but just a lot of downtime from the actual heist and like big movements. I feel like once you get to Saint Denis, it doesn't stop. It just keeps picking up and picking up.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah, I kind of want to pick that game up on Steam, but that thing will make the Steam Deck scream. Absolutely.
it'll make the Steam go brr.
I'm playing Marvel Midnight Suns on it. It's going on. I'm like, oh gosh, back to
You
PS3 days
hear,
here.
ladies and gentlemen, we have wins of you hear the intercoms.
Pretty much. People are at work looking at my desk like, this guy have a desk fan? What's going on?
It's like when people play Cyberpunk 2077 on the PS4.
Oh man, yeah.
Go,
Are you guys ready?
yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Guys, welcome to the 95th episode of the DualShock Sense podcast. I am your host, Soul, the connoisseur anime wife, who's joined as always by my two co-hosts. We got Macho here. How you doing, man? What's going on?
Nothing much. A lot of gaming this week. Actually hunkered down and focused on some games, which was good. It was a lot of fun. And looking on Amazon for that Last of Us complete season Blu-ray, man. It's on sale right now. About to see where's that steelbook at, son. But yes, come on. King of Kingdom Hearts Zombies Fanatic ready for another episode. Let's get it.
Sir. We also got Walt here. What's going on, man? What's your googly ass?
Hey, yo! We're doing good here. We in the depths of hell, and I've been doing Diablo and a lot of zombies. Bro, it's a very macabre week. We got zombies, we got demons. It's all sorts of fuckery up here. Oh man, and that Last of Us post, what is it? Post what? Post mortem.
Depression?
I'm depressed, man. My Sundays don't have any meetings anymore.
Damn, that's
Damn
a
it.
Lord's Day.
Hey yo.
Jeez.
No, but we chilling, man. We enjoying life right now. Games are good. Life is good. Food is good. Uh, let's get to pooping.
Hey, yo.
What's good?
Anyway, want to remind you guys to go ahead and like the podcast, share it out, all that good stuff. We would greatly appreciate it.
And eat your
As
pineapples.
Oh
as
god.
we continue our march to episode 100, man. So yeah, definitely help us out with that. We're gonna start the podcast off talking about the games that we've been playing this week, all that good stuff. So yeah, Walt, why don't you kick us off, man? What have you been and so I'm assuming that the big thing that you've been playing has been Diablo 4. So like let's save that for like the topic itself.
Hmm.
But has there been anything else you've been playing?
Only other thing that I played was the Resident Evil 4 demo, and I got the game yesterday because I have pre-ordered it, and I haven't played the game proper. But what I can say about the demo is that that thing is magnifique as a chef's kiss. That is a it's the same quality that you would expect from a remake nowadays from Capcom, at least in the Resident Evil area. Because with Resident Evil 2 remake, they kind of just like set up that standard of remakes, and they've gone even further with it. Honestly, they made what I think a good game, a even better game. There's people might argue that they still think that the original one has you know a kind of charm, or it has certain things that it should be untouched. But I think that those people are delusional. I think that the gameplay in Resident Evil 4 original is not very good. You should be able to move while you aim. That is my biggest thing. And guess what, Soul? Resident Evil 4 remake, you can move and aim. Amen, brother. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, man. That's one of the biggest things, that this game feels modern, feels uh like a new Resident Evil game, like the standard that Capcom has set up in the last couple of years with all their games. Honestly, I don't think they're one of the few companies that really the quality hasn't wavered in the last couple of years. I know that a lot of people have problems with Street Fighter 5, but it wasn't because of quality; it was because of lack of content. Right? Macho might correct me on that. Um,
For what was it?
but yeah, man. Like Street Fighter 5 was not necessarily a like low quality. It was just a very like lack of content type of game because it barely had anything on release.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, it's been a good week. It's been a chill week because it's only been those two things. But yeah, Yellowfish's been the main thing. We'll talk about that later. Aside from that, just more Mario Galaxy. And just collecting those Lumas. Every time I go to the hub, I see Rosalina, and I'm reminded why I do what I do
Every
for
time you
her.
go to the hub, whoa.
No, the oh my God, the hub in the game, the station. Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
You're on thin ice, buddy. You're on thin ice.
Yeah.
Shut.
Last week it was pineapple pusher. This week it's the hub, and let's poop. That's wild, bro. You,
Yeah.
I'm about to send FBI to your house right now. Right now.
Yeah. No, man, but that's been mainly it. And I've been playing some League of Legends with the boys, a couple of nights and all that. So, um, that it is what it is with that. It's agonizing times, but I have time fun with the boys. So, go ahead. Oh, and I'm considering because literally every friend group that I have, two or three people have started to get back into Destiny. So I'm considering that, considering diving
Ooh.
back for that Lightfall DLC, because apparently there's talks that it might be the conclusion to this kind of overarching story or saga, and that the next big thing after Lightfall might be an overhaul of Destiny or just D3. So I'm looking forward to it.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah. I've been meaning to get back to it too, but
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. It's weird because it's just like for like what those like 2 months I was so into it, like literally got to a point where like when I was at school, like all I could think about was like getting back home and playing Destiny, and like that's literally what I did. As soon as I got home I would sit down and play Destiny, and like I felt like I was pretty damn good at it too. But
Hmm.
then maybe like last month I hopped back in for like a couple matches, and it's like damn dude, like you just lose that, you lose that skill. I feel
Yeah.
like it's like I was getting swept, man. Like god damn. Um
It's ever changing, man. The meta, quote unquote meta, is changing always. There's new weapons, there's new perks, and you don't necessarily have to keep up with the knowledge, but if you keep playing consistently, you notice those changes, and you kind of don't lose that luster.
and
And
that's
I
how that's
notice
how
it.
I felt. Yeah, that's how I felt about Chivalry too. Like even though like I,
Mm,
I I didn't play that game nowhere near as long as I did with like Destiny. Like I played Destiny for like 50 something hours as opposed to like
mm,
Chivalry 2 I played for like 5 hours maybe. Like I was into Chivalry 2, and then like I put it down for whatever reason, and I tried coming back to it, and it's just like everyone is in this like full plated armor with these super upgraded weapons, and it's just like I die in one hit, and it's like I don't know what I'm doing anymore, and it's like yeah, it's crazy. Like those games you really have to like keep playing like consistently, and like if you even put it down for like 2 weeks, it feels like you get left behind, dude. It's crazy.
it goes to show that Destiny really kind of uh, found the formula to a proper life service to where it does incentivize consistent playing and constant playing. So
Yeah.
it feels good. It feels good when you actually play it for a long time, and you feel like, oh yeah, like you see the new people and you're like, ah, you know nothing.
Mhm.
Humble, humble. It's
Yeah.
really good.
definitely.
But yeah, man, that's been pretty much it for me with gaming. It's just big games, big games. Not a lot of games, but big games, and a lot of time with them.
Nice, nice. Macho, what about you, man? What you been up to?
Yeah, so this week I got the kick to keep playing Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky second chapter after a year.
Oh,
Um, to Walt to Walt's point last week, he's like, "Oh, this man decided to take up another job this week." Yeah, I did the exact same thing. That game took me 4 days to beat, and I actually took my time with like the last half of the game. And I'll say that the last half of it is definitely way better than the first half. Walt,
okay.
the first game is a
Not that the
lot.
first half is bad. Like it doesn't feel like it's a bad start.
Right, yeah, it's just more like the pacing. Like, you know how the first game is a little bit more like we talked about before, it's like a cozy JRPG. It's very
Yeah.
like singular in its adventure and its story with Joshua and Estelle and stuff like that. The first half of the second chapter is a lot like that, but with a little bit more mystery boxing, which gets a little annoying. But
Mm,
once it hits chapter 4, you get a nice reunion. You get, and then it just kind of snowballs one collision after another. Whether it's like the actual big baddie coming in and the other like opposition. It's a lot like Organization 13 a little bit, where you have like this
okay.
secret organization kind of under the covers, rusing all these different kinds of like schemes and stuff like that, and you're just uncovering them bit by bit until you get to the actual like conclusion with the reunion, and then all like the eventually all the plans unfold. So after that, like I was just like really zoned in. I was going back to like every day I was playing at work during my breaks and just having a ball with it. And I really liked it. And I'd say the one thing that this series is really like timeless on is that writing, that dialogue. Estelle, there's a reason why people call her Bestelle, and I can see why. It's
Okay.
because she's such a fleshed out character. She's so uh she's whimsical, but also like so, she wears her heart on her sleeve. She's super down to earth, and she's more optimistic. She's a glass half full kind of girl, but she's also one that could just turn. She's snippy too. Like she'll absolutely turn her not javelin, which she has like a pole. She has a pole arm she uses as a weapon. She would turn that thing on you real quick if if you talk bad on her, man. There's one dude that's trying to like size her up and trying like to flirt with her, and she's like got like the serious character face like in the art of the little text box. She's like, I got a pole on me, right? I can just whip that on you right now, and it's like so funny when she like completely like turns like that on people, and it's just so charming too. And then
Unbelievable.
yeah, you get like a whole bunch of really cool like character really deep character moments in that last half too. So I'll say that the second chapter is really great. I don't know. I wouldn't call it masterpiece like some people have, but I was debating whether or not to actually start the third game in that trilogy for the what was it, the Trails in the Sky trilogy. And people, I would say for you, Walt, you're probably gonna see a little bit of division here because some people are really on the train of, well, it's just a dungeon crawler. It's just mostly like cutscenes and talking and text, blah blah blah. But then there's a lot more people that I saw. I even saw a couple more reviews that were saying that it's probably the best Trails game because it cuts off a lot of the fluff that the first and second game have. So it's a lot more straightforward, but you're doing a lot less exploration. You're doing mostly not backtracking, but you're doing a lot of you're going to places that you've been to before. So it's a lot of familiar territory, but you're getting way more in depth characterization and background stories. So that's a,
I see.
so for you specifically, it's like if Persona 5, right? You play Persona 5 itself, and then there's a
Yeah.
minus Strikers, minus the mobile game. There's a Persona 5 2, except this one, you're not really going to any new places, but you're getting way more character stories. You're learning more about An or Joker or whatever case may be, right? And that's something that you eat that up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Characters. I believe in the complex characters, simple kind of story type deal. So, give me more characters, not necessarily more world. You're doing great, I think.
Yeah, that's Trails in the Sky the third. So I was initially gonna like I'll just move on to the next one, but then I read like and saw some of those reviews and I was like, okay, that's my jam. Like I actually want to play that. So if you see that online, just don't be diverted by like the gameplay changes or whatever.
No, for sure. And so they call this series the One Piece of gaming because it's how many games? How many games are there in the Trails? Like 11 or 12?
There's I think there's 11 or 12 right now. Yeah, yeah,
And they're all JRPGs.
yeah. All long JRPGs too. Like, thank God
That's
for the
like,
fast forward feature in like the first
yeah.
in the trilogy, dude. Because I kid you not, when I played the first one on PSP, that took me 50 hours. I was like regular normal speed. I did half of that in on PC with the speeder, and then with the speed turbo boost. Same thing with the second chapter. It took me like around 40ish hours, but people normally kind of clock that time around like 80 to 90 hours. And then like the end game clock is kind of messed up because it's not counting the fact I'm using a turbo. So it says 72 hours, but I actually beat it in 40 hours according to Steam. So
Oh man.
it's like that for every game.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's like that for every game, but really good stuff, man. It's a good JRPG. I really enjoyed it, and can't wait to play the third one eventually. But as of right now, I actually started Marvel Midnight Suns on Steam Deck, and I just been getting a kick out of car games, fellas. Like I don't know what it is, car games, board games. The last couple of days, I've just been
Age.
obsessed. It's
It's called
what?
age.
It's called age. Why you say that?
It's called age. I've realized the more we grow, the older we get, the more we appreciate intellectual engagement. And I think that board
Hmm.
games and car games do that. They make you think, and we want that sometimes.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, well, the board games I've been playing with, and I had a couple people over before. We played Kingdom Hearts Talisman, and this one's really cool because it's the whole board game is just a bunch of Disney worlds and some Kingdom Hearts worlds, and then you're playing as the characters from the games, including a couple of Disney characters. And you have like your own character sheet with your strength and magic and special abilities, and you're kind of just going around the board Monopoly style, and then whatever one you land on, there's a certain effect, and you just kind of hey, that's like the flow of the game. It's like Monopoly, and then your whole base of it, like the whole goal, is to get to the door of darkness and close it. So you can either work together, you can kind of steal other people's spells. Like there's a whole bunch of like really cool mix and match to it. But we'll maybe start playing Marvel Midnight Suns is a board game called Marvel Villainous. Have you guys heard of this board game?
No.
I don't think so.
Oh, it's super fun, man. It's so the board game itself is called Villainous, and it was first based on Disney characters or Disney villains, so Maleficent, Captain Hook, the whole nine yards. That has a ton of expansions now, and then they eventually did a Marvel version, which has 3 expansions right now, including Venom. But the base game has Thanos, Ultron, Killmonger, Hela, and Taskmaster. And the point of this game is each villain has their own separate decks that they can actually strategize and use in the game. And they also have their own special board to that enhance like these decks. And the whole point of it is to complete a goal. Each villain has their own goal. So for Thanos, he needs to collect the Infinity Stones. Hela needs to collect souls. Killmonger needs to take over Wakanda's caves and set explosives in other people's boards. So it's super fun because like you're not only fixed on your goal, which you need to do throughout the entire game, but you also need to hamper other villains' goals. So that's where you have like this thing called a fate deck, and every time you draw from it, you can place it on another person's board, and it could be like the Hulk, or it could be Nick Fury, or the Helicarrier, or something like that. That can change the entire dynamics of the game and your strategies. So just playing that with Sammy and a couple other people for the past week or so made me dive into Marvel Midnight Suns and just getting kind of like that fix of just getting a deck and strategizing around your characters, and it's a lot of fun. I'll say that Marvel Midnight Suns. I think I agree with Skill, but like the first like one half of the game is PS3 like. The graphics are not great. The writing is cringy, and it's the setup is whatever, but it's filled with like really cool characters to play as, and a super fun strategy game baked underneath it. So I'm really happy I'm playing it now. Gonna chip away at that until gonna chip away at this and Octopath Traveler 2 for the next couple of weeks, maybe next month, and then see when I can dive into Resident Evil 4 remake. But yeah, that's basically what I've been doing the past week, man. A lot of fun stuff.
Do you have RE4?
Yeah, I have it downloaded, ready to go. But I was hearing that the PS5 version could use a patch or two, a nice little polished cleanup before it's good to go. So I'm kind of waiting on that, actually.
isn't that funny how we were all like, yeah, RE4 day one, baby, we're there. And now look at us, man. Crazy.
Hey man, we
Oh
said the same
man.
for Battlefield. We said the same
True.
thing for
Well,
um
that's a different situation, man. Battlefield
Yeah.
came out,
yeah, well,
rocky at best.
yeah.
Well, I was going to start it last night, but one, I got too tired, and then two, I just got frustrated with Diablo 4. I was just like, I'm good. So I'll eventually start though. I'm really excited to play it, but right now I'm just kind of enjoying my strategy games.
Oh, cool.
Oh man.
Yeah. So for me, since I was diagnosed with a little something
You're
for the past week.
indisposed. Uh
Yeah,
huh.
I was indisposed this past week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really wasn't in the mood to play much, so I watched a lot of TV/movies. Specifically, I caught up. Well, I didn't catch up, but like I chipped away at a lot of the DC animated movies. Um, so I'm trying to
Nice.
remember which ones I saw. Um, I saw okay, so I saw Batman versus Robin, which was cool. I saw Batman Bad Blood, which was cool because that one was like literally just like a
Yeah.
Bat Family movie, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
like it was
badass.
Batman, Nightwing, Batwoman, Batwing, which I didn't even know that was a thing. And then of course Robin was in it, of course. Really, really good movie. I loved it. Um,
Batwoman, the
so yeah, I
highlight,
watched.
right? And she's super cool.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite so far, I think.
Dope.
It's funny because because you know that I think there's 16 in total of the like DC like animated universe, specifically like all the ones that like connect to one another. I think there's 16 in total. But yeah, that one specifically has been my favorite out of like the bunch. And so what I was originally gonna say was that it's funny that like out of these 16, like they're mainly like Batman movies, so it I feel like it tells you something that like Batman is fucking cool, man. Like, come on. So yeah, so watch that one, and then I think the one that comes after that, canonically, is the Justice League versus the Teen Titans, which was another really cool one, just to see like that rendition of like those because like they're different from the Young Justice version of those characters, and then of course they're different from the OG Teen Titans on Cartoon Network, like that version of those characters.
Mhm.
Um, so that was really cool. Of course, dealing with Trigon and his bullshit, as usual. But I guess my main complaint with that movie is that like that movie is called Justice League versus Teen Titans, and like for a movie that's called that, like they only fight like one time, and it's like a short little fight. The rest, honestly, that movie should be retitled to like the Justice League and the Teen Titans versus Trigon, because like that's mainly the movie. I feel
Is that
like
the one where Nightwing and Starfire are kind of
oh
coaching
yeah,
the
yeah,
team?
yeah,
And
yeah,
Starfire's a little cheeky. It's,
yeah, yeah,
okay, okay. Now I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. So like, yeah, I mean, I mean, come on, like it's a sexy title, like it's a clickbaity kind of title, but
Hell yeah.
like I don't know, man. It's like,
I
come
mean,
on
look at the
now.
movie Batman versus Superman. There was barely any Batman versus Superman in Dawn of Justice.
No, I wouldn't know. I didn't see that trash. Um, but yeah. But regardless, I still really, really enjoyed it. And then the next one after that is Justice League Dark, which I'm currently like working my way through that one.
Oh man.
So yeah. So yeah, really, really great movies. Also have been watching. Well, I just finished Yellow Jackets on Showtime. Have you guys heard about this?
I've heard about it,
Heard
but
the
I've
name.
never actually seen what it was about.
Yeah, same.
Um, so this is kind of like quickly becoming like one of my favorite genres in like TV, I guess, is the genre of um high school or college kids on a plane. The plane crashes on this like uncharted island or whatever, and they have to survive. Um, so kind of
Okay,
like
so
think
Lost.
Lost. Right, Lost. There's also this show on Amazon, one of my favorite shows on that platform called The Wilds. It only ran for
Mm.
2 seasons, but it's basically that same premise of like kids on a plane, the plane crashes on an island, blah blah blah. So yeah, this is basically the same premise. It's like this all female like soccer team, varsity soccer team. They make I think like nationals or whatever. They're flying like overseas to that location. The plane crashes, and it's basically their team trying to figure out like how to survive in the wilderness. Blah blah blah. Things get pretty messed up really really quickly. The kids start like losing their mind. All that classic stuff. It's a really really good show. It kind of bounces back between present day and the timeline of like the plane crash because some characters actually ended up surviving and like getting out of the island. So like you actually meet them in the present day timeline and get to know like what they're up to and stuff like that. Um, yeah, it's a really really good show. If I like we all kind of assume that Last of Us is gonna like sweep like the Emmys and like the awards and all that stuff. This is probably because season 2 is like airing right now. The first episode for season 2 just dropped yesterday, I think. Um, this is probably like the one show I would kind of be nervous about, kind of taking away some of those awards from Last of Us because it's like it's that good. It's really really damn good. Um,
Succession too,
so
probably, right? I heard.
Succession. Oh, fucking forgot about that. Yeah. Season 4 I think also comes out in like 2 days or something like that. Um, can't wait for that. It's Succession is also just a fucking like beautifully written show. It's fantastic. Um, so yeah, Last of Us is like its competition is like starting to like heat up right now. Um, but yeah, Yellow Jackets is awesome. Um, and can't wait to talk about Succession when that comes out. Um, and then aside from that, chipping away at Hogwarts Legacy still, I think I have like Macho, like I'm like 2 missions away from like the ending. I'm pretty damn close. Um,
Yeah, nice.
yeah, yeah. So almost done with that. But the main thing I guess I've been playing has been Diablo 4, and I guess we could kind of like transition over to that for our first major topic, and that is Diablo 4, the open beta that has been running from I believe the 24th to the 26th. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I mean let's kind of get into it, man. What I mean first and foremost, what is everyone's sort of like prior history with this franchise kind of like look like? Because I know for me, I this is my first experience with Diablo. So what about you guys? Have you guys played prior ones, or is this your first entry into the Diablo experience?
When you start Martial Gun, I don't really. I've talked about Diablo in the past, but have you touched Diablo in the past?
Sort of. So Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls, that giant package that came on the Switch, I actually asked for that for Christmas and never played it. Um,
Lol.
in the time that I did try it out, I fell asleep. So
Oh man.
So
Oh no.
so I'm considering Diablo 4 essentially my first experience. Like I thought it was always cool, but I just never really got into them for whatever reason. But this one I'm making a conscious effort to play. So it's essentially my first experience as well. What about you, Walt?
So I did play Diablo 3 much more. I mean, this was like when it came out, and it wasn't on the Switch version. Reaper of Souls that came out years later. I played it on PlayStation 4 back when it came out, and I mean, I remember having fun with it. I remember enjoying my time with it. I never beat it because it's the kind of game where you can get lost on the side content and the dungeons and all these things. And I kind of lost motivation because the people that I would play with, they were all just like either extremely high leveled or they hacked, and they were like trying to get me to level up through shady means, and I was like, nah, I'm kind of not feeling this anymore. So I just kind of stopped, and I remember enjoying it, but I didn't get too far as to see more of the end game content and whatnot. I remember, however, falling in love with the the type of game that it is, an ARPG, the whole just kind of hack and slash nature of it, the kind of laid back, which is how I treat Diablo. I treat it as a laid back game where I can play and watch a podcast, play and watch a video or something. Not to say that I'm not paying attention to the story, because there is a legit story in the games, but the gameplay itself is kind of just very lax. You can just kind of have it as a background type thing. Um, and for Diablo 4, I hear that I mean, a lot of people are kind of like really, really enjoying it because it's kind of like a nice mixture of Diablo 3 and 2. I've never played 2, I've only played 3. Um, but this one's been a blast. I've really, I'll be honest. Like maybe back then my mindset just wasn't in a Diablo kind of mind, and that's why I didn't continue with it. But this one I see myself playing for hours and hours on end, for sure. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of my story with it. So I've only played Diablo 3, but I Diablo has always been kind of I've been familiar with Diablo since I've known about gaming, because it's been one of those games where like if you don't know about Diablo, you're not paying attention or you're just kind of not interested, but it's kind of hard to avoid hearing about it because it's like one of the oldest quote unquote like franchises or something.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, I agree with what you said in terms of like just that feeling of like can't stop playing it.
Hmm.
I'm finding it really really addicting, even though I only played it for like I mean I say I only played it for 3 hours, but like I
Hmm.
downloaded it like pretty late last night, and like I felt those 3 hours just kind of like blow by like really really quickly. So, um, my my thing is that like I'm really really loving this game. I'm really loving the loop of like getting, I mean, you guys know me. I love these kinds of games where like you make your own character, dialogue options, fitting them in new outfits, and constantly getting new weapons and stronger weapons and stronger armor, and then blah blah blah. My thing is that like since this is a beta, since the progress doesn't carry over, I'm just like a little nervous of like, yes, like I want to keep playing this game so bad, but like it's just like it doesn't carry over, so it's like why am I playing? It kind of feels a little pointless,
You're
like
wasting time, so you're saying.
yeah, yeah, man. Like I don't know, that's the thing that bums me out, man. It's just like I wish I was playing the final game, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think to that point, I understand and I agree, but because the game it is the kind of game that it is, I have three characters, and they're all at least level 7. But the beginning like half hour whatever, like I just breeze through it because at the beginning it's like, oh, I want to check every corner, I want to check all the loot, I want to make sure that I know how I'm playing. But it gets to a point where I'm like, oh, I can just autopilot this. So I feel like when the final game releases, I'm gonna catch up to my current level, which is the cap of the beta is 25. The game has to up to 70 plus or something like that. So I mean, this is just a fraction of what you're going to be playing because it gets to a point where leveling up doesn't become as frequent because it gets harder and harder to do dungeons and to do the end game stuff. Um,
Well, I think
so
to your point on that, Walt. So if you don't want to feel like you're wasting time, what Walt just said earlier makes a lot of sense to do. Try different characters
mhm.
and see
You
what
can play
vibes for
all
you.
five.
Yeah.
You can play all one, two, yeah, all five of them. You can create. I have a druid, I have a sorcerer, and I have a barbarian. And I'm probably gonna make a rogue, and I'm gonna make a necromancer, just to mess around with all the classes, so that when you play the proper game, you're like, you're not wasting your time at all, because you're playing the one class that you truly want to level up all the way up.
Yeah.
What classes? Well, I mean, obviously, well, you said you've been like going through multiple ones, but what was the first class that you picked? And Matcha, what class have you been running with?
Um, so as I do with absolutely every single fantasy game that gives me the option, I went with sorcerer. I always go magic first in anything that I do. I did it with ESO. I did it with Final Fantasy 14. I always go magic. It's either magic or barbarian. Barbarian's almost always the second choice, but I started with sorcerer, and I just love feeling how you start off just little gusts of wind. You're hitting people with little bursts of magic, and then you get to the point where you're just calling forth storms and lightning, and that's what I love about a sorcerer. It's just the progression in skill feels absurd, and how much you level up. So it was sorcerer. What about you, Macho? What did you choose?
I chose the one class that interests me the most out of all of them, and all of them are really cool. But Necromancer was the one I was just like, yeah, I kind of want to jump into this game and have other things do things for me. I just want to see all my minions just gather around and swarm against enemies. It's exactly what Necromancer does, and
Well, you
it's
lazier on a lazy game.
it's yeah, it's basically. And I was telling Walt before so that when I was playing like the initial hour where you're going through the snow baked mountains and everything, I was
Yeah.
falling asleep
Oh
because
man.
because I was sending all my dudes were just killing the wolves for me. I was just like press X, press X, press X, keep walking, press X, press X. Like I basically didn't have to do anything. Um,
Yeah, that's Diablo in a nutshell.
but
That's what I love
but
about
it's
this, is that
fun
you can just
though. I don't know,
yeah.
it's like like you said before, it's like cathartic fun where it's just like you could sort of turn off your brain, but then once you enter into a dungeon or you're actually getting a swarm of demons like sent at you, you're like, okay, wake up, and then that's when you start paying attention and doing some combos or whatever the case may be. So like I love how easy it is to kind of get myself in and out of a trance with this game, which makes it so appealing. And it again, I wish it was delayed or it was coming out earlier because a June release date is killing me, dog. I wish it was. I hope, please delay it a month, please. I want to play it with people. I want to play it with Walt and you, and so we could join up in co-op because Street Fighter 6 comes out the same time frame. This is killing me, man.
Oh man.
It's
Nah, I
killing
need it.
me.
I need it. That date needs to stay, man. Don't
No,
push it.
no, I'm,
Give me that summer release,
I'm
baby.
praying to Lilith right now. Delay this game.
Macho, you might not like what I'm about to say, but hey man, I might have to put Final Fantasy 16 on the back burner for this. I ain't gonna
Oh
lie.
man.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow. I forgot. It takes you forever to finish a game. So you know what? I hope you lose internet for that entire month so you can only play 16.
You know, that is another problem that I have with this game. The
Yeah,
always on
uh-huh.
bullshit. Yeah, and the fact that
Oh,
I mean, this is a classic Activision thing, but having to sign up for goddamn BattleNet or whatever is like, come on,
yeah.
man. Like, just let me play the game.
Oh yeah, I forgot that I had to I didn't need to do that because of Overwatch and stuff like that. I forgot. So you actually had to make an account like before you started playing?
Yep.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's annoying. Yeah, I mean the connection issues aside, man. It's not aside, but like just highlighting it a little bit. So me and Walt have this theory. We have this weird so because we were joining for
You
club.
continue the theory. I just suggested. I was like, oh, can you imagine this? And you're like, oh my god, Walt.
Well, we were playing last night, and we kept being at least I kept getting disconnected from the game, and this happened like 3 or 4 times before eventually I just like, all right, I'm done because every time I got logged out, it would freeze at the character screen. I would be able to click my character but not get into the game, so I had to restart the application or restart the game essentially, and I'll be stuck in another 30 to 40 minute queue time, just like what the fuck. So eventually I just kind of stopped because it's getting annoying. But like whenever me and Walt would join up, it would get disconnected like 10 minutes later, and then Walt was like, "Oh man, I actually paid for the game, so maybe it's keeping my connection is overriding the freeloaders here." I'm like, "Yo,
Oh,
that makes sense. That makes sense. Is giving all the priority to
Yeah, I was thinking.
all these
I was.
pampered ass pay
Hey,
pre-order
listen,
pre-order
hey, buddy.
mofos instead of the
What I
people that
was
actually want to
thinking is
try the
that
game.
because I already established like a presence in the server, and it's like, oh, okay, we're gonna prioritize people that already were in it. But yeah, indirectly, it's like, oh, it's because you paid. I mean, I'm
It
not saying
makes
that's
it
what
makes
happened,
sense.
but
It makes sense. It's Final Fantasy 14 did the exact same thing. Like all the people that were doing like the free login campaign I always promoted, they told the mofos to get the f out. We need to get these servers on right, and so they couldn't play. They couldn't log in. but the people that did play were able to log in. So
You know what's also you mentioned earlier about the class. You mentioned how you started Necromancer. The Necromancer on Diablo 3 was a DLC character. You had to buy it separately.
oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it was like a very.
So
It was the coolest
it's kind of
class.
fresh then to the series.
It's kind of fresh. This is like I think I believe so. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but this is the first official time that the Necromancer is like a proper class, like from the beginning. I think. So it's like a newer. It's like a newer thing. Necromancers weren't really a thing like in fantasy for like players. It's always been an enemy that you fight. So it's pretty dope. But yeah, man. I don't know. So what do you think about that theory?
Um, that'd be petty as hell if that was true.
Hey
Yeah,
man,
I don't
I
know,
don't make
man.
the rules. It's fun.
It
Um,
makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. But
I
yeah,
went
continue.
with a rogue. Obviously, that's pretty much the class that I always go with in these kinds of
Okay.
games. It's so fun. I mean, I love with this class just like how quick you are, the mobility, and then just being able to bounce back and forth between like dual daggers and like the bow, because the bow is just like it's almost like kind of like a get out of jail free card where like if you are being swarmed or overrun, then you can just like I have this one ability that's called like barrage, I think. It's just like you just pull out the bow and you press square and it just like unleashes just like a ton of like arrows and like a almost like a shotgun kind of like a widespread area. And it's just like back the hell off me. It's like it gets you like enough space like away from them.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's a really fun class so far. I'm really
Good.
digging it.
To that point, there's an ability for the sorcerer that you become lightning and you become unstoppable for a few seconds, and then you teleport somewhere else and you do damage when you land. So that's kind of like the get out of jail free card for me.
Yeah.
I just I'm getting swarmed and I'm actually have no potions and there's a potion right to the side and I need to grab it. I'm like, all right, let me just become God for a moment. Boom! Whoa, 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 whoa. Fuck, it's so much fun. You feel so stupid powerful, and then you meet up one boss that just tells you, nope, you ain't shit.
Yeah.
You ain't
And,
nothing.
and I like because like, I mean, you guys know how much I love Divinity, but like one of the things that game was like it's always at a top down sort of perspective. So I
Hmm.
really like how this game like it actually does have like legit cutscenes sometimes, and it feels like your character is like more um I don't want to say more involved, but like you're just seeing your character a lot more often than you typically do in these kinds of games. So like I don't know, that's something that I've been really appreciating so far.
Yeah, I
And I feel
agree.
like
Actually, I
cutscenes
mean,
new to this game.
I I, I agree in that sense, but because like obviously I haven't played a lot of these games, but I was surprised, quote unquote, when I would see like my character in the cutscenes and talking to people, and it's like completely like customized character. But then you have like those really cool transitions where you're going from like the cathedral in that first town you see with the monk, and then it just kind of zooms into the actual cathedral, and then you get the cutscene with Lilith and all that stuff. I thought that was really cool. Like it was a little jaggy, but like I don't know, I was kind of like expected as well because I didn't really expect that kind of like transition for a game like this. So, but it was really surprising and cool. It was more immersive too, I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like whenever
it
these
really
cutscenes
is.
would happen, I was glued to it, man. Like every cutscene, the opening, anything that was happening, I was just so immersed into it.
Bro, and the voice acting, god damn. It is something else. I mean, Blizzard has always had voice actors that just go the extra mile to really make you feel like, damn, this person, it matters what they're saying. This person is like you feel the presence. It's like that. What's the guy? Lorath or Norath, whatever. The guy the hermit that you find in the cabin. When he starts talking, you're like, oh my god, everything's shaking. That what is it? The vibrations in that voice is insane.
I feel like I'm being talked to by Thanos or something.
Yeah, yeah. Come here, little one. I'm sorry. Like, oh damn, kill me.
But yeah, man, I mean, just like between this and Baldur's Gate 3 coming out in August, like I feel like
Oh man.
I'm eating good, man. Like I'm set for this year. Like that's all I need. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm good.
I know you've been wanting this kind of fix for a long time, so you you better be diving
Yeah,
into those
man.
early day access and everything, buddy.
Can't wait, man. I can't wait.
For Final
Um,
Fantasy.
Oh
I'll get
no,
to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to
it's
it.
wild, it's wild.
Um, but yeah, man. It's also like I can't remember like the last time that we have all kind of been playing like something like at the same time. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe aside from like Ragnarok, of course, but like yeah, just like and no less like a beta. Like I can't even tell you the last time I played a beta first and foremost. So like yeah, I don't know.
Mm.
I think that's really cool.
Hey man,
Um,
we're all playing this game. When it comes out, we should actually play it here and there together. Like do those big dungeons together. Because sometimes I do need people. Because they're hard. I don't want to spend an hour doing one dungeon. So I'd appreciate the help.
It was funny, so because when me and Walt were joining up, I was like, "Is So gonna join our party?" And then I was
hell
like,
no, hell no.
I was like, "Is Soul gonna join our party?" I was like, "Man, I was like, Walt, can you imagine if the only reason Soul joined party is hell actually froze over, like legitimately?" And even
It's
then, he might not.
me time, baby, me time.
He said me time. You got that me time with Baldur's Gate 3, man. Come on now.
Hey man, that's true. But yeah, man, that's Diablo 4.
I hope it gets
We
delayed.
are.
Hope it gets delayed.
Hey man, shut your
No.
mouth. Yeah, we're all really liking it. And like I said, man, like we didn't even do this for like Wolong Fallen Dynasty when that demo came out, or
Nah.
the RE4 demo when
No.
that came out. Like we did, all three of us weren't playing that at the same time. So I don't know. It's
Mm-mm.
really funny to see that like this is something that we're all kind of playing at the same
At the
time.
end of the
It's
day,
because
Blizzard
we're
brought us
horny.
together.
Never mind. What?
Hey yo.
What?
What's up?
Anyway, anyway.
Listen,
Um.
listen. Lilith, amen, brother.
Oh, weird. Um. But yeah,
Son of
let's
your
move
thinking it.
on. Let's move on to our next topic, which is, I mean, probably not going to be too long, but Spider-Man 2. Tony Todd was out on Twitter, you know, as voice actors who are, I guess, like typically new to like the video game industry and doesn't know how the industry works and how secretive it is. I guess this is kind of like a common occurrence, but yeah, he was on Twitter talking with a fan and was saying something along the lines of, well, was asked a question about Spider-Man 2 and its release date, and he said September, with August looking like it's going to be the big sort of publicity push. Um, so yeah, I mean, this kind of reminds me of like the whole Norman Reedus thing about him just like constantly talking about Death Stranding 2 when Death Stranding 2 was not announced. So um, but yeah, man. I mean, of course, with all things, you know, you take this with a huge grain of salt. Um, but seemingly, we might have Spider-Man 2 in September. I guess like the more interesting conversation is like, so we have theoretically Spider-Man 2 in September. Final Fantasy in June, which of course isn't first party, but like, and then of course you had Call of the Mountain in February. But it's like, man, like is our is PlayStation's like sole first party like major release in September? Like we have to wait all the way until September, you know, for that. You know what you know what I'm trying to get at? So it's like I'm just wondering like, yeah, is that really it in terms of like major first party releases that we have to wait all the way until September? Like that feels a little strange, but at the same time it's like we're in March, quickly approaching April. It's not like Sony's just gonna be like, bam, here's a major first party release in May. You know what I mean? So like, I I'm like quickly accepting that Spider-Man 2 may be our only like major first party release this year. Um, how do you guys feel about that? Are you guys more optimistic? Do you think there's gonna be more releasing this year, first party wise? How do you guys feel about that topic specifically?
It's
Well, why
so
don't you put
it.
your tinfoil hat on?
Listen, it's already nice around the dome. Um, I don't know, man. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Where I don't see that being like the big first thing because I think what PlayStation's been really good at least has been sprinkling in those third, second party deals along with the first party stuff. And I don't know if it's contradictory at this point where we'll rake on Xbox for like having little to no exclusives from the first party within like a year of release or whatever. And then PlayStation's kind of silent on this part. But the thing is, like, I feel like 2023 is like such a standout year for games. Like,
Yeah,
this might go down as one of the best years in gaming, hands down.
yeah.
With all the like clearly acclaimed games and then fan appraisal games, like everything. Like, since I also mentioned so that Diablo 4's open beta last weekend, reached 1 million players.
Yeah.
That's insane, you know.
Hmm.
So like we have like big time releases dropping in the summer that never usually happens, especially with video
Yeah.
games. We're getting two of them on top of like the other stuff that's coming out like in August or whatever the case may be. So we're getting games that are being released in months that usually are kind of like DOA for those certain games, which tells you what 2023 is. So I really don't blame any kind of big publisher like Microsoft, Nintendo, or Sony being like, hey, yeah, we can just like take off a year and release one or two major things, focus on second and third party stuff, and then release when our games are ready because this year already is like packed. Like I'm having
I mean,
trouble keeping up with games.
let me
Yeah.
be clear. I think Final Fantasy 16, Stellar Blade,
Oh,
a small game,
Stellar
a
Blade.
small a small game like Tachia, and Spider-Man 2 is like a decent year in terms of like exclusives. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously obviously we do need more, but at the same time, yeah, like I agree. Like this year, it feels like every month there is like a major, not even just one major release. It feels like there's like two at least.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know, man. Walt, what do you think about this?
I mean, it's interesting that it's gonna be competing against another exclusive that comes up in September as well. You know, we have Starfield now that was delayed to September, so it'll be
Hmm.
interesting to see how the two perform on the same month. Um, you know, assuming that Spider-Man is true that it does come out in September. Um, as y'all said, this is the year. Not only is it good for gaming, it's good for gaming, assuming that Xbox does come through with those games. All three will have their own big hitters because we also have Tears of the Kingdom coming up in a few months, and that's like been the most anticipated game for the last what 3, 5, 4 years. It's always been the most talked about game of, oh yeah, no, this is what I want. This is what we're looking forward to. So I mean, what can I say? It's 2023 is feeling like what was it, 2015, 2016? It was like another stellar year for games. Um,
2015.
2015, that was a man. It took a minute, but we're here, y'all. Everyone's shooting on all cylinders. Not all cylinders, but everyone's shooting. Everyone pushing pineapples, you know.
Yeah. There you
It's
go.
pretty
There
good.
you go.
There you go. Yeah, I know Macho was waiting for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm excited, man. I didn't think I'd be honest. When I heard Spider-Man 2 being announced, I didn't really think we'd get to the point where it's right around the corner, and I'm excited, man. It's gonna. This year, there's a lot of game of the year contenders, and also with Hi-Fi Rush, bro. Like, let's not forget that there's games that have already come out that are just like, how, do these games exist? This year's scrumptious, delicious, and ain't no Call of Duty saving no one's ass. It's all the single player beauties. Love to see it.
Oh yeah.
Love to see it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah, man.
I feel like once we do get this this theoretical showcase that exists somewhere in the ether, once we get that, I feel like some of these concerns might kind of like they won't go away, but I feel like they'll be like people will calm down a little bit once they know like okay like what the slate looks like for the future. Um, but yeah, definitely for right now, I'm kind of definitely like kind of like looking around and kind of being like, all right, like Ragnarok was back in November, we're in March. I just think that like it's such a stark difference from last year because if you remember from last year, man, like we were like right out the gate, it was like it was go time, you know what I mean? Like especially that February month, just like not even talking about
Hori-
Yes,
exclusives,
sir.
but just
Horizon and
like
Elden.
But yeah, yeah, again, like not even talking about exclusives, but just like from Dying Light to Sifu to Elden Ring to
To
Horizon,
Kirby the
obviously.
Forgotten Land.
But then immediately after Horizon, you had GT7. Um,
Yes, sir.
so like, yeah, it's a big difference from last year, and I don't know. I just feel like it would be crazy if Ragnarok being their last major first party release, and we have to wait from November to September. It's just like that's I find that a little hard to believe, but like at the same time, I'm with every passing day, I'm starting to think that that might be a reality. So
Well, keep in mind that PSVR 2 dropped in February as well, which
Hmm.
I'm sure that was just a big hurdle for them, and they're gonna keep going with that throughout the rest of the year too. So I
yeah,
think that's why that my sisters are telling me that that PlayStation Showcase is happening very soon. So expect some big releases and timed exclusives and yada yada yada.
What's your source?
Don't worry about it. And
You're gonna
but
say like like Senator Armstrong. I made it the fuck up.
but to your point, so I think Spider-Man 2 isn't the only release coming this year. If it is September, I do think we're getting factions this year.
Oh man, you beat me to it. I was thinking about that earlier. I
Yeah.
was like, can you imagine right after or right around when Spider-Man comes out, we get factions? That would be insane.
I would think that would come out before, honestly.
Before? Okay.
Yeah. If
Interesting.
I mean, I will hope that they'll do like a July or August release, depending on how if they are ready. Again, we don't know anything about this game other than the fact it's going to be a
Nope.
Last of Us multiplayer game. So it's really based on that showcase whenever it comes out. But my optimistic side is saying this year before Spider-Man 2.
also my thing is that like the time frame or when this showcase happens, I feel like is so important, or maybe it doesn't even really matter to them. In in
Mm.
in the sense of like, if the showcase happens in June, you announce factions in that June showcase. That thing then comes out in August. Like that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I especially for like a major game like that. I don't know, but then again, look at how their marketing push for God of War Ragnarok. That was so like unorthodox, and it looks like they might be doing the same thing with Spider-Man 2 if Tony Todd is to be believed, in the sense of him saying that the big marketing push is literally happening the month before the game comes out, right? So like, I don't know, like Sony is like their their energy with their marketing is definitely like, hey, like our games are so big, like we don't need months and months and months and months of marketing these things. And I would assume they feel the same way about The Last of Us, where like, hey, we can drop this in like August, or we could drop this in like November, and we don't really have to start talking about it until like the month before. Like I get the sense that they see a lot of their games like that. So like, I don't know, who knows? Like I they can do this in a number of different ways, but
I mean, it works. It's
yeah.
absolutely it works because social media is just if they're impressed easily and then forget easy. So might as well keep like in the mindset of something's coming out within the next month. It's kind of like how we'll look at showcases and be like, oh, we could play today. Like, oh, I'm gonna go download it, stuff like that. I guess I think it might be the same thing for marketing, where it's like you do a big marketing push the month of before, get into people's minds, so that when it does drop, they just buy it. They're just gonna go out and go
Yeah.
get it. So it makes
It's more
sense.
subconscious.
Yeah, it makes sense that they wanted to, because they did with God of War and that sold what it sold, which was amazing. And with Spider-Man 2, I mean Spider-Man, you don't really have to do anything to sell that. You know,
Not really. No.
it's
You
the
just say it's
same
out.
thing with Zelda. Look how much footage we got for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Nothing.
Bro, you know how many pre-orders my local GameStop has
Oh,
for Zelda?
tell me.
112.
That's a lot for
They have
just one store.
112 pre-orders for Tears of the Kingdom. My guy, I mean, look at the collector's edition. It sold out nothing. Like the game, there's games that just they're made. They don't even need marketing at all.
Yeah,
The marketing they need is, hey, it's gonna come. I mean, look at Rockstar. Rockstar doesn't do big campaigns or anything until before the game, like right coming up to the game. But how do they announce games? Oh, here's a little wallpaper with cowboys in it, and people are like, huh,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
huh?
Yeah, the red poster, whatever. And then we were like,
Yeah, that was it.
RDR2's
That was during the
coming.
summer.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need much for a lot of companies, you know. And that's another thing. I imagine Rockstar this summer, if they just drop something. Oh my god.
Yeah, you don't need any. You don't need any sort of marketing for Spider-Man 2 when it has not only Spider-Man but Miles Morales
And Venom.
and Venom. Yeah, yeah. You don't
And
need any
Craven. So
marketing.
you have comic fans kind of like, oh shit,
Yeah. That
Craven's in it.
yeah. So that villainous board game I was talking about, the one, the Marvel version, they have the different expansions, but they have one singular character expansion. You know who that character is?
Who?
Venom.
Oh man.
And that sells out like hotcakes. And it's
Yeah.
as expensive as the other expansions that have 3 characters in it. So it's gonna sell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Definitely.
Venom. Like Venom is one of those instances where I don't know how he became to be just so popular. I get the appeal, but I don't know how it became more popular than the other symbiotes, like Scream or Carnage. Maybe it's just the fact that that Spider-Man has had Venom inside of him essentially, or on him.
It's the character dynamics of it. Even he was even popular in the '90s with the '90s animated show because it's that popular kind of trope where like there's a hero and then there's a villain that's essentially the mirror but super opposite version of them. That's kind of like what Venom is for Spider-Man, which is why he's so popular. On top of the whole, his whole aesthetic of being like, the Venom character with the long tongue and sharp teeth, like completely the antithesis of what Spider-Man is.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, people like that dichotomy.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
Link and
man.
Dark Link.
We will have to see, when they start talking about this, whether or not Tony Todd is blowing smoke up
Capping.
her ass or what.
He released a
Capping
video
fat.
afterwards. He was like, "Don't believe what you hear, or believe what you see." That Jim Ryan called him. He's like, "Hey, yo, relax. All right, just relax. Don't say anything." That man's really active on social, so it kind of just probably slipped out for him.
But yeah, man. That is Spider-Man 2. I thought, first of all, Walt, do you know what yesterday was?
Yesterday was March 24th.
But do you know why March 24th is a momentous day in human history?
Is it the day that Mario died?
No.
Oh, okay. I remember March 2 years ago, Mario died. Uh, no, what happened March 4th, 24th?
A little masterpiece called Bloodborne released on the PlayStation 4.
Ah! Oh man, you scare me, man. Don't say that name without telling me. Get me too
Um,
excited.
so I thought that we could, since it is Bloodborne's 8-year anniversary, 8 years,
8 years?
Wow.
yeah,
That's
that we
crazy.
could we could
And they haven't released anything good since. It's wild.
that we could hey, this is the time for negative things, man. This is I thought that we could talk a little bit about or share some of our fondest Bloodborne memories, man. Favorite bosses, favorite areas, whatever the case may be. Why is it that all of us love Bloodborne so much?
All right, hold on. Let me get my pillow and blanket before Walt starts talking because he won't stop.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Souls. You started out because I know that uh, this is the game that I think you played before I did. I didn't play it on release. I took years for me to
I mean, so
kind
did
of
I.
go
I
into
didn't, I didn't
Bloodborne.
play it on release.
Okay, okay.
I
So I
think
mean, what
I played
what
it
what did you
when
Ooh,
it
play
but
was
I
first?
did. But I did.
Shut up. You
Oh
don't count.
yeah, you experienced those awful low times day one.
Yes, I did. Listen, we didn't know it was bad back then. All right. It's kind
Yeah.
of like hardcore drugs in the '60s. We didn't know it was bad until
Hey,
afterwards it got
yo.
regulated.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
I played it. Yeah, I actually played it around the same time frame where it released, and I got my ass kicked a lot, man. This was my first Souls game, but with all the hype, with all the gameplay videos I've been seeing, I couldn't stay away from it. So I played, quit this game until I just and so I just mustered up the energy and the courage and the grit to go through Bloodborne and finally beat. I think it was the Bloodstar Beast where like I had the biggest hurdle, and then after that, man, it was like dominoes, bro. One after another, just keep falling into the traps. Not actually in the game, but in the trap of just the cycle of what Bloodborne did, and how much I loved. I didn't realize it until I was like halfway through the game, but I was like, the reason why I love this game so much because of the addictive finding stuff out constantly, always finding like the different routes and backtracking and secrets, and then the boss fights were amazing. Which you guys know me, I love my boss fights in video games, so this was a highlight of that. But the reason why I loved it so much because it had that addictive looping gameplay, the same that Resident Evil has. And I didn't realize it till I was like halfway through the game. Like I love discovering like secrets and like different routes in games. Like this is so addicting, so much fun that I eventually beat the game and man, it was incredible. I didn't do the online stuff, but just the game itself and the boss fights were just iconic. I mean, I can't believe I can't believe it was like what 8 years ago that was. Yeah, it's 8 years. So wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's insane.
Um,
So
this was
so
my
yeah,
first
go ahead.
Souls game. My first
Hmm.
Souls game. Um, I was intimidated as hell to get into these kinds of games, obviously, because and I feel like this is sort of the classic argument or the realization that people always have when they actually jump into a Souls game for the first time is that the Souls community really do these games a disservice in terms of like talking about how difficult and how hard and unforgiving these games are because it
Hmm.
saying that always turns people away, whereas like these games are never as nearly like as bad as people make them out to be, and by bad I mean like difficult. um so I really wish that wasn't the conversation around these games because that turns away so many people. That turned me away from this franchise for so long, and I'm finally glad that I just kind of like decided to take the plunge like anyway regardless. Because yeah, Bloodborne just in terms of like atmosphere, um the vibe, the aesthetic, um it's just like one of my favorite games of all time because of that stuff. um yeah, it's just like I don't know if I have any like specific memories um that like come to mind right now, but yeah, I just remember just like being like solely focused on this game for like a month and not playing anything else and just like solely focusing on this and like dying a lot, but just like feeling like every step forward was just like progress.
Hmm.
Every time that I died, it was like, okay, I learned something and I can take that with me to my next run. Um, and so one of the things I do remember is just like, how like especially like in the beginning where like man like fighting the normal like villagers, that was so hard, and then like
Hmm.
it escalates into like meeting the two werewolves on the bridge for instance, and like just remembering like
Ugh.
how like brutal that was in the early game, and just like how terrified you were and like how much of a sigh of relief it was to like make it past that. And then it's just like you come back like later in the game, it's like how was I ever afraid of this, you know what I mean? Like those
Hmm.
those memories are always like, I don't know, just remembering like the little bit of health that I had and like how like every hit you felt, man. Like you felt every hit in that early game, and just like remembering how scared you were at that point in the game, and then just coming back later and just like, dusting these enemies in like two hits or whatever, and just like I don't know, those moments were always like I remember those really, really fondly. Um but yeah, man. I'll never forget discovering Castle Canehurst for the first time, just like coming upon that
Hmm.
location. Um, walking inside and then meeting Martyr Ligorius. So, the last thing I'll say, um, that boss is probably my favorite. Like, I don't know, favorite boss, but just like favorite memory with a boss in any Souls game because like, and I actually think I do have it recorded in on my YouTube channel. It's just like because again, this is my first like Souls game ever, and I don't know what it was about that boss specifically, but Martyr Logorius kicked my ass like several times. I don't know if you guys struggled with him as well, but like he was so difficult for me in like a way that no other boss up to that point was for whatever reason. And like I just remember like finally putting him down and like me just like screaming like I did it like holy shit like I did it and like I remember because like I was recording like my boss fights and like streaming them and putting them up on my YouTube channel and like
Mm.
I just distinctly remembering just like the most like barbaric yell that like I could like that I just like let out for that boss fight. It was just like again like something that like I don't think I've ever had with a boss like up to that point or I've ever had again. Um yeah, I don't know. When I think about Bloodborne, I specifically think about Martyr Logorius and like how difficult he was for me and just like the yell that I just let out when I finally put him down. Um, but yeah, man, Bloodborne is awesome. I'm glad that I played it, and it was like literally like the floodgates opened when I finally beat that game into trying out Demon Souls, into trying out Dark Souls 3, into eventually trying out Elden Ring, into trying out Neo. Um, yeah, it
But not
yeah,
Sekiro.
but not Sekiro, and I never will. Um, but
Yeah,
but yeah, man.
it's not as hard
Wow,
as you think.
wow,
Not as,
wow.
as hard as you think.
What a scrub.
Hey, man.
Play
Yeah.
Sekiro, dog. Come on now.
I don't know. I don't know if I'll like it.
I'll hold your hand. It's
Um,
okay.
Bro, you like Neo. It's
yeah,
like a
man.
better
Neo is a good
Neo.
game. It was a
It's
good
a
game.
better Neo. It's so tight and so nice with its combat.
I didn't know
Yeah.
Neo won Game of the Year. Oh, wow.
Did it?
With
Wow.
who?
Yeah, with who?
No, Neo didn't win Game of the Year. Sekiro won Game of the Year. It's
Oh,
not.
he's being funny.
Play
Mm,
Sekiro, dog. Play it, man. You're gonna love it.
uh,
I feel like it's the kind of thing that it'll be
He
born
said.
from within, but not now.
anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on Bloodborne. Absolutely love it. All right, well, let me get my pillow really quickly too, and then you can go ahead and start.
I've talked about this game in length already. I'll just highlight the things that you mentioned. The most whoa thing was thinking that the cleric beast was the first boss. So I spent so much time fighting it, and when I beat him, I said, "Oh my God, finally, I get to progress through the game." Not realizing I could have gone through the game even further without beating it. So when I encounter Father Cascoigne and I see that there's a cutscene that starts, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, what's going on?" And I proceeded to not beat Father Cascoigne for like a week because that's when it really kicks into high gear. Because there's one thing to fight a monster, another thing to fight a human in that game. Humans are much tougher. I've
Uh,
realized.
Eileen
Uh,
the Crow. Did you fought her,
yeah, yeah, I did that side quest.
bro? That boss fight was.
It's ridiculous.
I'm pretty sure it took me a couple tries as well, but like it was so. It's just so funny, like two Bloodborne characters, like the way that they do that dash, and it just like
Hmm.
both me and Eileen just like dashing all over the goddamn freaking place,
It's like a
man. But
dance.
yeah, she was really fun to fight, and then I took her cloak, and her cloak is like the coolest outfit in the game.
Absolutely. I'd say she's the coolest NPC in the game.
Yeah.
Aside from Alfred, is it the one with the hammer, the Kirk hammer? I like him.
Yeah.
Um, Favorite boss? I mean, it's hard to say. Base game, I'd say my favorite boss is probably uh
Shadows of Yarnum.
not Shadows. Not Shadows. Fuck those, man. I hated that
Living
I needed to
Failures.
I needed to time the fucking who I killed first because then the big ass snake would come up and one shot me. Um
Celestial Emissary.
Celestial, man, you just naming ass right now. What is wrong?
The
No,
One
honestly, I'll
Reborn.
be honest. Ebrietas was probably one of my favorite ones because
Ugh,
that felt like fighting an actual eldritch god, and she's like an actual difficult boss to fight unless you have the Kirk hammer. Out of the
yeah.
DLC, I'd say obviously Ludwig is my favorite boss fight. overall in the entire game. In the any Souls game, that's my favorite boss fight. Um, and in terms of favorite aspect of the game, I it's my favorite combat slash weapon system because it's the only game that has the transformation gimmick, and it's so cool. And you feel like a badass. Not only does the aesthetic fit, with the gothic Victorian London type deal, but it feels so cool going through the streets and you see the townspeople, looking at you, away, away, and you're like, ah, shit, I need to transform this, and you put the cookie cutter, and you start, oh man, it's so cool. It's such a cool game. That's another thing. It makes you feel cool. Um, yeah, man, it's a perfection of a game. It's sad that we don't have a goddamn remaster yet. Yet Dark Souls 1 has one for some reason. Goddamn Dark Souls 3 had a 60 FPS overhaul, but no, Bloodborne, no. Let's keep that shit. The only game that has dashing in it. Let's keep it at a crispy 30 FPS. No, well, it makes sense. It makes sense. But yeah, man, I'm uh I'm in love with that game. I want more of it. I probably will replay it. Oh, most I cried during this time. So for the DLC, there's an optional boss. There's only one optional boss in the DLC, and that's Lawrence the First Vicar.
Mhm.
And you can only fight him, I think, after it's either fighting Orphan of Cause or a bit before, where you find an item that you can activate, and then Lawrence will rise up from the chair. You know how long it took me to beat that boss because of the time that it took me to like kind of process the way that I was playing. It took me a year to beat that boss on and off. I could not figure out what I was doing wrong. And I realized I wasn't doing anything wrong. It's the most bullshit boss that FromSoft has ever done. It is ridiculous that you have to spend time in a little circle while this douchebag is shitting lava and going in circles, and there's no way to you to hit him because when he goes to hit you from above, he'll do a quick 180 and hit you behind him. Nah, it's the bullshit boss. I hate it, but I beat him, and I proved that everything is possible if you believe hard enough. But yeah, man. I cried. I beat that boss and I cried that day because that was a frustration. Because I was like, oh my god, finally I have all the trophies. Finally I beat all the bosses in Bloodborne. But yeah, man, I love that
Mm.
game. I hope we get a Bloodborne
I
2 at
mean,
some point or just a remaster.
I'm trying to think what was. I mean, obviously, Martyr Ligorius means like the most to me, and like
Oh,
the.
by the way, I beat that one in one try.
Well, okay. Um. So yeah, like obviously he means like like a lot to me, but in terms of like favorite boss, I'm trying to
Hmm.
think. I mean, obviously
You like
Father.
Lady Maria?
No, I mean Father Gascoigne is pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um, man,
Rom. Fuck Rom.
oh, the spider. So that's funny because like, and again, this goes back to the classic thing that we always talk about of like, it's always funny to see like which bosses people struggle with and which ones people
Hmm.
don't. People always talk about how difficult Rom was, and I think I beat Rom in like 2 tries or something like that. Like he
I
wasn't
envy
that
you.
bad for me.
Yeah, no, I hate it.
Uh,
It's the little spiders that hit you once and you're dead.
that was like Pontiff Sullivan for me. Like I drew because like beforehand, like I love watching like boss rankings and stuff like that to like
Hmm.
sort of like prep me before I go into a boss fight or just to see like how hard the boss I'm about to fight is or whatever. And like Pontiff Sullivan, like people talked about like how really like tough he is, and it was like the same thing with him where like I beat him in like maybe three tries or something like that.
Right.
Um, but yeah, in Bloodborne, I'm trying to think.
There's Mikolash, which is a
Nah,
stupid fight. Um,
nah.
Orphan of Kos. Uh,
No, I never beat
live
him.
live in
Vicar
failures.
Amelia, no, hell
Vicar Amelia
no.
is amazing.
She was also
uh,
another one I beat first try, but
Witches of Hemwick.
hell no.
Amygdala. Amygdala is really cool.
I didn't really care for that one.
Okay. Uh, what about the Chalice Dungeon bosses?
No, I didn't really do the
You didn't do
Chalice
those.
dungeons.
Murgo's Wet Nurse.
Nah, I didn't really care for that one.
Uh,
Not the Shadows of Yharnam.
no, fuck those.
Not the one reborn.
No, dude, that has to be the most whatever fight in the game.
Yeah,
It's cool design wise, but it's like, what am I doing?
yeah. Which
What
also
about
is
the
which is
Dark
also
Pearl Beast?
I surprisingly never fought him.
Okay.
I don't know why how I missed that, but yeah, I never did. Which also is a really cool moment that we should talk about. It almost feels like a prelude to like the Elden Ring, like opening a chest and it brings you to like a different location. But like,
Hmm.
um, being taken to Yargul or whatever the unseen village, whatever it's called,
Oh, yeah.
for the first time,
Hmm.
by those like enemies with like the sacks on their shoulders or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, really really cool moment.
That's where the
Um.
amygdalas are all over the buildings and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. Abritas was cool. I wouldn't call her my
Agreed. Yeah.
favorite though. Um, uh,
That's the
Unstarved,
social emissary.
Unstarved Beast. That's what it's called, right?
Bloodstar Beast.
Bloodstarved Beast.
Yeah, that one surprisingly so. Macho mentioned that one. I think that was also the first big hurdle I had. And I think it's because it's the first boss that doesn't only become super aggressive on the second phase, but it has poison. And it's not just poison on hit, it does the big cloud
Right,
of the mist of poison that really fucks you up, unless you have antidote.
right. I think I like the music more than anything in that boss fight. Like,
Mm.
yeah,
Da-na-na-na.
yeah, really, really good boss music.
Mhm.
Trying to go through. Okay, so which is Hemwick,
Henwick,
Shadows of Yharnam,
Logarius,
Rom, the Vacuous Spider, Dark Beast Parl, the One Reborn, Martyr Ligorius, the
Amygdala,
Amygdala, Celestial
Gurman.
Emissary.
There's Gurman, the
Yeah,
first
Grimman was
hunter.
cool.
Hmm.
Mikolash, Abritus, Murgo's Wet Nurse. You know
Hmm.
what? Gurman, the
What?
first hunter. This may be unpopular. Moon Presence. I
Ooh,
th-
Moon Presence. I forgot about that.
this
Forgot
may
about Moon
be
Presence.
unpopular. I I think the bosses in Dark Souls 3 may be more memorable than the
Hmm.
bosses in Bloodborne.
Okay.
Because like I'm looking at this list and I'm like,
Yeah.
Father Gascoigne is obviously cool.
Yeah.
Really love him. The Cleric Beast
Hmm.
is iconic, right? It's I wouldn't call it like a really, really like good boss, but like it's iconic.
It's a unique boss. I think there's nothing like Cleric Beast. I think there's a lot of interpretations of Cleric Beast in a lot of games. But I think Cleric Beast is a very it's Bloodborne as it can get because it's a corrupted, high-standing member of society that went to the old blood and became that distorted figure. So I
Yeah.
think it like encapsulates Bloodborne pretty well. And I think the bosses in Bloodborne are not necessarily, for me, not the highlight of the game. I think it's just the overall package is so pristine with the environment and the music and the weapons and the design.
Right.
And the bosses themselves fit this whole eldritch horror, higher power type deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Like
I
I
don't know.
think Bloodstarved Beast is really, really
Hmm.
cool. Um and again, it's like it definitely fits like the different play style in and like the different sort of like how the bosses operate in this game versus other Souls games.
Hmm.
Um Vicar Amelia I think is kind of whatever. Witches of
Interesting.
Hemwick is kind of obviously whatever. Shadows of Yharnam, while tough, is also kind of whatever since they're like regular enemies aside from the whole snake thing.
Hmm.
Um, Rom, I also think is kind of whatever. The environment is gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
It's like the original like Renala kind of boss arena, but
Hmm. I
I don't
think it's
know.
the fact that Ram is like a newborn great one. And I think
Yeah,
that's what's so cool about the bosses is what they are, not how they are. It's like, but what about Ludwig? Do you think Ludwig is like one of the cooler? I think that's my favorite. That's my favorite boss
I never
overall.
fought Ludwig.
Oh my
Obviously,
God, no wonder.
I think the DLC bosses are probably far better than like the main game ones because also like the amygdala, like I didn't really care for the amygdala boss fight, didn't
Hmm.
care for Celestial Emissary, Mikolash didn't care about. Abritus obviously is a standout, really, really cool fight. Murgo's Wet Nurse is also one that I don't really care about. And then
Interesting.
the game ends with Gurman and the Moon Presence, which are both. Gurman is really really awesome. Moon Presence
Such an
is
anime
all
fight.
right.
Yeah, Gurman
Um,
is like the setting for Gurman is very anime. The way he just unsheaths the scythe and the petals are in the air and the flower
yeah,
field and all that.
but yeah, that's weird. I never really kind of like thought about that. Like just like looking at all the bosses right now on I just brought up a list of them and like going through them. I never really thought about like, huh, I think I think the bosses in Bloodborne are just okay for the most part. I definitely like the ones in Dark Souls 3 a lot better.
When you compare it
Um
to other FromSoft games, for sure, but when you compare it to just games, they're like pretty goddamn good. But what would you say then in Dark Souls 3 is your favorite boss?
um let me bring up a list.
Which, by the way, when we get to that,
I would actually agree with you, Soul, too. I think I like the Dark Souls 3 bosses a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean so okay,
it
so like
came after Bloodborne, so it also it's a lot more thought out, I'd say.
Well,
so you have
it's mostly just design and like I guess
Hmm.
impact because like Bloodborne has a lot of memorable moments for me, especially with Dark
Hmm.
Beast Parl and Murgle's Wet Nurse and the Shadows of Yarnum just being so creepy. But I love the DLC way more.
yeah.
Ludwig,
Yeah.
Lady Maria, and then the same thing with Dark Souls 3. Like it felt like Dark Souls 3 was what the entire Bloodborne DLC was, plus the DLC for Dark Souls 3 just being so impactful.
That too.
Absolutely.
But also, like, I don't think in the Bloodborne DLC, there's not a bad boss in there aside from living failures.
Living
Like,
failures. Yeah.
And Orphan of
uh,
Cause.
No. No.
um,
No, 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 no.
so Dark Souls 3, Unix Gundyr, which I think is a great introduction boss.
Perfect. Yeah.
Uh, like Father Gascoigne is for Bloodborne.
Hmm.
Um, then you have Fort of the Boreal Valley, which I think is just kind of whatever. He's like the
Dog
blood-starved beast, basically, but like a less cool version of that,
with
with like how
ice.
aggressive he is. Um, then you have Curse Rider Greatwood, which is whatever.
It's an
Um,
optional boss for sure.
Crystal Sage, which is whatever.
Hmm.
Deacons of the Deep, which is whatever. Now we have the Abyss Watchers, which is a
Goaded.
really cool, yeah, really cool boss fight
Best
in a
Cinder fight there.
horrible area. You had to go through a horrible area to get to them, but
Hey
regardless,
man, it's
the
a good
Abyss Watchers,
reward.
yeah, really cool. High Lord Wolnir, which I guess the area like I like how the whole place is like really really dark and you can't see anything, but again, kind of like a whatever boss fight.
Hmm.
Lore wise, I think cool though. Um,
Yeah.
Old Demon King, which just
I
surprisingly I
hate it.
really struggled. Yeah, I really struggled with
I
him.
hate that fight so much.
Um, Pontiff Sullivan, which I think is a goated fight. I really like
Goaded.
Pontiff Sullivan.
That design is just so damn cool. I wish I was rich to afford that awesome statue that released earlier last year, I think.
Oh, with Prime One Studio, I think it was or something.
Yeah, it was like a
Oh.
$2,500 something like that statue. But it was up there, but man was it
And
gorgeous.
it was the his fire and void or fire and purple form when
Mm-hmm.
he's like going ham.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool.
Then you have Yorm the Giant, which is again a whatever fight, but I guess spectacle wise is pretty cool because of the weapon.
Yeah, it's kind of like the mana ray in Demon Souls.
Right, right. Aldrich, the Vow of Gods. I think this is the
Goaded.
boss that I died the most against. Like
The damn volley
Aldrich,
of arrows.
yes, Aldrich messed me up, dude. Again, sort of like Martyr Ligorius, like the sense of accomplishment that I felt after beating him was like rare. Like I rarely get that feeling. Yeah, Aldrich is like one of my favorite fights in that game. Dancer of the Boreal Valley,
That's my
goaded.
favorite one.
This is the one that killed me the most in both playthroughs. I first played on PS4 and then when I did again on PS5. Killed me so
Dude,
many
that's
times. I don't learn my lesson from this boss. It's because keep getting frustrated, and Walt is like, "Dude, I'll help you out." I'm like, "Absolutely not."
But
it's so
yeah,
good.
definitely a goaded fight for sure.
Hmm.
Um, Dragon Slayer armor, which I don't remember too much about this fight.
It's the one with the
it's
weird dragons in the
it's
background.
on the bridge.
Um,
This is the game that actually made me rage quit the game on PS4 because the performance was so bad.
because there's
Mm,
a lot going on the screen. Because
Yeah,
you don't only have the Dragon Slayer armor, you have the dragons in the background shooting you.
Yeah.
This is a transitional fight. It doesn't feel like that memorable, but if it's a nice like you need to go through me in order to access this area, and it
Right.
feels nice.
I
It's
thought it
cool.
was dope. Yeah, it's just like again that
Yeah.
performance on PS4 was just so bad. Like I just couldn't take it anymore. I stopped, but I overcame him on the PS5 version and
Amen, brother.
goaded, man,
Um,
goaded.
and then you have Osiris, the Consumed King,
This
which
one's
So
dope.
dope.
So cool, man.
really,
Yeah, I
So
love
dope,
it.
bro. And the
His
lore
design
behind
is
it,
just it's so cool, man. So
and
cool.
how his voice, killing his child, and the unseen child in his arms to get more like it's insane. Oh, and
I
the fight
remember.
itself, the music, it's so good.
I remember the voice, obviously, like him talking to you. But like aside from that, I actually don't really remember too much else about
Like an
the
ice
fight
fight.
itself. The fight
It's like
itself.
crystals. It's like shoot crystals from the ground and stuff like that.
Yeah, looks like someone need to
Um,
do a replay of Dark Souls 3 again.
Yes, sir.
Champion Gundyr, which again I really like this one as well. Really tough,
Yeah.
but yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, like a retread of the very first boss, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but like he's like I forget what they added with this one. Walt, do you remember what makes him like aside from him being like more aggressive, right?
So he's not corrupted. So the first Ludus Gundyr, he has that black blob that comes from
Right.
him. This one is just really good at fighting.
Right, right. It's just him straight up. Yeah, yeah.
He's like, I'm the real one over here. I don't need no buffs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then of course after that you have I think maybe one of my favorites or just standouts is the Twin Princes.
Yeah.
Really unique fight. Very unique fight.
It's just so like, and From Software has just always been good with this, but just like, I mean, you said it, the uniqueness of like having this brother who can't use his legs, and so the other one just like latching onto the older brother's back and just like
To teleport him.
it's just so cool, dude. It's so cool. Um,
And the lore behind it. Like it makes sense. When they build a boss fight around the lore, it's so cool. That's why Yorm the Giant, although it's a spectacle, it's cool that you have to get the sword and then you kill him like 3 hits. But it makes sense.
then you have the Ancient Wyvern, which again, kind of whatever.
It's whatever, yeah. When I showed Macho, hey Macho, so this is what you do. You just go around here, go to the top, and then you plunge, and that's it.
Yeah, I remember you showed me that. I was like, dude, how are we gonna fight this thing?
It's so big. It's an actual
And then you have the goat, Name
goated.
King.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The lost son of Gwyn. Oh man, this
You don't know how
fight is-
hopeless I felt going into this fight. I'm like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this one. I'm just gonna get demolished, and then I end up being like in 2 or 3 tries.
And then you have Soul of Cinder.
goated.
Yeah, another fun fight.
Yeah, the environment on this one is really cool too.
Yeah, for sure. And then the DLC bosses, champions, Gravetender and Gravetender Great Wolf.
Goated, goated. I love it.
It's,
I love
it's-
it.
it's
I
a-
love
so-
all the DLC bosses, man, so much.
so I think that one, when you compare it to the other DLC bosses, it's like the lesser one, but it doesn't make it any less. But I think it's like at the bottom of the DLC bosses. But it's not a bad boss.
And then you have, of course, the goat, Sister Freed.
So
God.
so cool.
I get
Um,
I get my nipples hard when I hear it.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. This one contends with Maria fight for me. And mostly because in
Yeah,
Bloodborne I use a chain whip while it was just so cool just to fight her with
Yo,
that.
you whipping?
I was
Definitely feel
I was Castlevania during that playthrough, buddy. It was great.
you definitely feel the Bloodborne influences in that fight.
Oh yeah.
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 And then you have
Dude,
the Demon in
so
Pain,
good.
Demon from Below, and Demon Prince.
Mm-hmm. That was
So
nuts
that's the one
too.
that
That
depending
was
on
so
who you fight
insane.
first. Depending on who you fight first, the other one evolves with their abilities.
I remember Walt telling me because we went through that DLC together, and I just remember the guidance you're giving me because it was so other.
It's so much going on. There's
Yeah,
so much going on.
yeah.
Because you have meteors and you have a laser that has a delayed reaction. So
Yeah.
you just constantly have to be moving.
It was the first time though where like, you guys know I'm a huge like Lord of the Rings fan, so like going into like this huge barren area felt like I was dropping to the halls of Moria with a Balrog just waiting for me just to pounce on me and
Oh
just
man,
absolutely just demolish my character. That's what it felt like fighting this boss fight. It was so cool.
it's so dope.
And you have Half-Light, Spear of the Church.
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's the multiplayer one.
yeah. And
That was
then
cool.
Dark Eater, Midir.
Yes, sir.
That's the only boss that I've never beaten.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, Slave Knight Gay.
What a twist. What a twist. That one was a twist for me because I was like, wait, I remember you. You're the uncle. What are you doing here? Wait, wait, no! Oh my god, he's an acrobat. That man was tough. That man was hard.
Yeah, I know.
Wait,
He
pause.
ripped us up a little bit. He ripped us up a
Hey,
little bit.
yo,
What?
bro,
He
why we make everything sound
he
so
he
wrong?
pushed the pineapple a little too far. You know what I'm saying?
Ah!
Whoa.
You know what I'm saying?
That would you guys say that's a? It felt like a nice conclusion to the Soul series with Slave Knight Gal.
I would think so, yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
But so I mean overall, like I think there's more bosses overall in Dark Souls 3 than there is in Bloodborne. Um
Yeah,
Yeah, there is.
no, duh, for
so
sure.
so like obviously if you're gonna have more bosses, then there's obviously gonna be like a lot more that like aren't as good. Like that number will go up. Obviously, the chance for there being more like not good bosses will go up. So like, there's definitely like a lot more bosses that are kind of like whatever. But at the same time, like the number of bosses that are like that we would consider as like great and top tier, I think are also more than there are in Bloodborne, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I don't know.
you're right. I agree.
All in all, yeah. Looking at this list, I still think that there's like the bosses in Dark Souls 3. I think are far better than the ones in Bloodborne. Um,
Yeah, I will say that the bosses for sure, but as far as when it comes to weapons and sort of like the flow of
oh, for sure.
combat, Bloodborne 100%.
Yeah, I still prefer Bloodborne overall as a game, but
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, just like thinking about like the bosses in DS3. It's like, I think about Pontiff Sullivan. I think about Aldrich. I think about the goddamn dancer of the Boreal Valley. Like, I
Hmm.
don't know. And I think about the Twin Princes. I think about the Nameless King. Like, Bloodborne bosses aren't touching those. I don't think.
But funnily enough, the bosses that are great from Dark Souls 3 are perfect Bloodborne type bosses. So they would fit well with that combat. Like every one of the bosses that we mentioned that are our favorites, they're fast-paced bosses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so
It would be beautiful.
satisfying when you're doing weapon transformations in Bloodborne. It's so satisfying. It just never gets old. It never gets old.
Never.
Whenever you're sticking the big sword into the mallet in the back of your on your back and just go chink and then you just bring it out. It's so cool, man. It's the same thing with the
Whapa!
it's the same thing with the chain whip, where now just using that as like a cane sword, and you eventually go whoosh, and then you just start whipping people. Oh man, it's
Hey,
so
yo, you like
crazy.
whipping? Yeah.
Relax, Walt,
You
relax.
know that it's funny because with you describing the weapons, it sounds like that one dude that was surfing. He's like describing the wave. He's like, and then when whapa, and then we get ah.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
how I feel playing Bloodborne. But Sekiro, I mean, okay, so real quick, Macho, do you think Sekiro has any boss that's like a good like on that rank of like greatness?
Most of the human bosses, yeah.
Okay. You say Ishin Ashina and the Great Ape are like on par with like a dancer or like a Ludwig,
Well, any
let's
like
say.
the monster bosses, I did not like in Sekiro. Besides the bull, I thought the bull was pretty fun, but like the rest of the monster bosses, like the ape and the monkeys, stuff like that, all that stuff was kind of just it was whatever. Like the ape had a really cool twist on it that like is super fun to see reactions to, but
Oh yeah.
not a lot of fun to
The
fight.
ape, yeah.
I found the human sword on sword combat to be just more fun than anything else in that game.
Superb. Yeah.
Just
Yep.
it's, it's a
Right.
lot of fun.
Well, that's it for our
Happy anniversary.
little, yeah, our little Bloodborne little anniversary talk. That's gonna do it for the podcast as well, man. Yeah, I want to remind everyone to go ahead and like the podcast, share it out, all that good stuff. Before we get out of here, and go through our outros. Macho, what you got going on this week, man?
This weekend is Sammy's little brother's birthday, so we're gonna go over to their place and play some more board games. I'm really excited about that. And it's gonna be Marvel Midnight Suns and Octopath Traveler 2 this weekend, and maybe Diablo. Let's see if out. Walt, if you're on tonight, we'll join up and hopefully I don't get
Yeah, let's do
disconnected because I do want to play more of that.
it.
I'm kind of addicted, but damn man, why is it?
Yeah.
Lilith, delay this game in July, please do it.
The mother of a hatred does not listen to you.
Mother of hatred, hear my hate.
Daughter of hatred.
Delay this game. No, it's just gonna be a bunch of that. It's funny, dude. I was playing a little bit Marvel and Sons during the podcast, and it's super hilarious how they have a inner social network within the Marvel Midnight Suns group. It's basically just Twitter for superheroes talking shit all the time. So you just hear like these people like, why do we leave Wanda? And then Doctor Strange responding as if they're not in the same damn building to have these conversations with. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. But the gameplay is so good in this game. But yeah.
Escape Twitter, you're in the game.
It's funny, dude. Like I'm just reading them. It's like, man, I want to know what's the drama between Doctor Strange and Captain Marvel. What's going on? It's so stupid. But yeah, that's gonna be my weekend, man.
Well, what about you?
Hey, my weekend's gonna be some more Diablo for sure. And might keep watch a movie or two. I don't know what I'm feeling this weekend. I've been I've been wanting to just watch something new that I've never even thought about watching. So I don't know if I should watch like a Shawshank Redemption or um like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Just something really old but classic. But yeah, man. Diablo 4 and I don't think anything else I'll be playing honestly. Just Diablo 4 until the beta's done. So that because then it's until June I won't be able to play this. How
Mm.
about you, Soul?
Yeah, probably more Diablo 4. Um, I think that's about it. I guess
Let's
also,
link up. We gotta link up.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, also gotta finish Hogwarts Legacy as well. But besides that, nothing else really. Um,
Okay,
yeah, I guess yeah,
that's
because
good.
I'm trying to think like, cause yeah, obviously we got RE4 this month. I don't know what comes out in April or if anything interesting comes out in April.
Star Wars, man.
Oh right, yeah.
Jedi
Survivor.
Survivor.
I didn't tell you guys that I uninstalled Fallen Order.
Why?
Oh,
I don't know. I just wasn't like in the mood to play like it's like
Uh,
I just sounded so offended.
I was, yeah,
Why?
because that game is so damn good. Like, what's wrong with you, buddy?
I don't know. It was just like the open world and the backtrack. You know, it's like I'm not in the mood for this, so I just installed it.
Got
Damn,
spoiled
man.
with
Divinity
everything.
Original Sin really ruined your
Yeah,
gaming.
Divinity really fucked up this man's taste in games.
I'm I
Yeah.
guarantee you we're gonna get to Spider-Man 2. It's gonna be critically acclaimed. Everyone's gonna love it. So I'm like, it's all right.
It's all right. It doesn't have any. There's no choice makings.
Y'all ever play a game so good that no other game after that can match
Yeah.
up to it?
That's why it's hard to play JRPGs after Persona and Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Relax.
Hey,
Um,
hey,
Relax.
yeah, man.
chill.
I see people
Kingdom
saying
Hearts phony.
I see people saying that for Last of Us 2 actually. People are like,
No
oh, man,
shit,
Last of Us
Stacey.
2 is so good that it just ruined games for me.
Hey,
Actually,
want something
you know
good
what
after
did
Last
that
of Us?
recently? Actually, was so funny because when I let my brother-in-law borrow my PS5 to play God of War Ragnarok, and he's a Ratchet and Clank fan too, so I gave him Rift Apart, and he played Ragnarok, finished it, and he started playing Ratchet and Clank. He's like, I couldn't do it after Ragnarok, man. It was just Ragnarok ruined games for me, and he started playing Elden Ring. He's like, okay, I'm back in the train now. It's-
Wait till Tears of the Kingdom comes out.
But yeah, man. That is gonna do it for DualShock and Sense episode 95. We will catch you guys next week for 96. I I need something to happen, you know? Like
Yeah.
I need something to goddamn happen, bro. Like I don't know why it just feels like this whole year so far, like nothing interesting like news wise has really happened. Like I don't know.
It's almost like the companies are doing their job and not being fucking up.
Yeah, man. Maybe.
Exactly. We got games. What are you talking about, dog? we got.
True, true.
I don't know what to do with my time with all these games, man. Seriously,
Oh man.
True.
so much.
But yeah, man, that's gonna do it for us. We will catch you guys next week. Peace out.